Roll the card with the people who pay for this. Pick up middle of the night.
Time to school.
My hands out. Just 11 more minutes.
10 more minutes.
And 10 more minutes.
Middle of the afternoon, no way, can't stop thinking about you.
It's
Nightmare. One tragic nightmare. You call me
the animal.
That's just not the truth.
I'm no animal.
More coming up. No animal with you. No animal. I love it.
Ooh.
Oh. I'm no animal. All right.
Benny.
He's Blake. I'm Ronnie. All the good names are taken podcast. And Blake, as we continue on our road that took a month off, we continue on a month off. Jesus. Yeah. We really took a month off. As we took a month we took a month break from this review and we didn't take a month off, but we're at Friday the 13th, part 7 in this franchise.
Arguably the worst one.
I would say to this point, Blake, this is the worst in the Friday the 13th franchise. If we had to do a ranking right now, 1 through 7, this one's bad. This one's really bad, but there's also a lot of good stuff. We don't like to stick to the negative, even though this is a really negative movie. We like to stick to the positives like HIV. Let's hit it. All right, Blake, give me your thoughts. Friday the 13th, part 7. I'll tell you right off the bat, I'm going to go ahead and steal your thunder and start talking. I remember, as we all know from the last episode, if you didn't watch it, go watch it. We had Vinny here talking Friday the 13th, part 6. We all agreed that Friday the 13th, part 6 is my favorite Friday the 13th movie, no matter what. Okay.
We all agreed?
We all agreed on that. That is my favorite. So when I went and rented this one from the video store and I pop it in, and it starts off with the amazing, crazy
Daddy
Ralph.
said, you better not be watching that son of a Get out in the yard. I'm tired of spending $2 on bullshit. Let's let Top Gun again.
When it starts with the great opening monologue that you get from that spooky voice that years later I found out was the same actor that was Crazy Ralph. And he's just recapping the franchise from part 1 to part 6. And then boom, we go back to Crystal Lake and it's all new people. And there was no Tom Matthews. I'm
looking at this Commando review behind me, Ronnie. Are you going to, you're looking really good with that goatee. Are you going to participate in No Shave November?
I shaved today.
Right.
I don't do requests.
I don't do requests.
That was great.
Anyway, talk to me about this movie, Blake.
I hate this movie with all my heart. I watched this movie like 2 months ago, Ronnie, and then you did 31 Days of Horror, so you might have to refresh me on some stuff.
Jason,
I do like Jason being in it. The opening with Crazy Ralph going over the first 6 movies was really, really good. But the time frame, like how long is it between Tommy Jarvis stuffing Jason underwater? How long is it to the opening of this movie where there's people living at Crystal Lake again? Like Crystal Lake went from Forest Green back to Crystal Lake now. And obviously we know the time frame from that moment to the middle of the movie because Tina's like 5 or 6 and now she's 17 or 18. So we know at least there's a 13-year gap, but how long is it between part 6 and in the intro of part 7? That's my first question to you, Ron.
All right. Well, good thing I pulled up the timeline right here.
You got a timeline over there?
I have a timeline over here. Well, Blake, here's what I've always thought. Let me pull it back up. I can't concentrate if I can't look at myself. I always thought that there was a year in between the end of part 6 and the beginning of part 7. And then 10 years from the moment her dad drowned till they came back to Crystal Lake. I could be wrong.
I think you're wrong, brother. And are you sure the dad drowned? Because I think he's at the end of it.
He's at the end of it. Friday 13th, The New Beginning, supposedly, exposedly, takes place in 1989. Then in 1990 is supposedly when Jason Lives takes place. Let's see. 1993, Blake, 13-year-old. No, that's completely different. 1997.
It's a great year.
Hold on. They're not telling me. It says right here, Tommy Jarvis in Part 6 drowned Jason in 1990 around July, even though he had a jacket on. But this right here said in October of that same year is when little Tina Shepard drowned her dad. And then in 1997 is when the new blood is set. So I don't know what's going on with these timelines right here. I just know that Tom Matthews wasn't in this movie and Tommy Jarvis wasn't in this movie in any form or fashion. So the best part of this movie is Crazy Ralph doing the intro, talking about everything that's going on. Let me get right into it. My first question, Blake, is why at this point would anyone have cabins or houses on Crystal Lake? We've had multiple massacres take place in this series. We had a break, and then Jason came back from the dead. And why would anybody keep any kind of real estate around Crystal Lake?
Well, my instinct is to blame Obama. 2008 housing crisis.
Well, that's probably it.
FHA loans. That's all you can get.
So for years, they tried to get Freddy versus Jason made. And a deal fell through where they were going to have Freddy versus Jason in this installment. Because imagine this. Nightmare on Elm Street that was doing better at the box office than Friday the 13th and involved with a different production company, New Line Cinema, didn't want to work with Paramount and bring them better box office. So they couldn't come up with a deal for Freddy versus Jason. So the writers came up with an idea. Hey, let's just do Jason versus Carrie. Okay. Somebody that's got telekinesis, telepathic. What the hell does she got? Telekinetic powers. And that's what we got in this movie. The
Ronnie.
Oh, the side story in this movie is
edit.
That's when you know Blake has said something he feels bad immediately about is he edits himself. So that's always great. The side story on this movie is Tina Shepard, her mother, and Bernie from Weekend at Bernie's are at Camp Crystal Lake, the site where Tina used her telekinetic powers to kill her father after he beat the hell out of her mother. Later on in this movie, we figured out why he beat the hell out of her mother and that Tina's really a murderer. But they bring her back here because she's been in some kind of psycho house. And when they show up, of course, there's teens partying over in the house across the street. So there's your body count, Blake, and there is your setup for how we get Jason back. So all throughout this movie, she shows the ability to move things with her mind, and she even sees the future in multiple parts of this movie. She sees the past, and she sees visions of the future, but she doesn't use any of those powers to help anybody.
The weirdest thing that she did was make Nick's dick.
She made it rock, and he couldn't figure out why it was for a girl because he's a in real life.
What did do?
There are some good things in this movie, Blake. We talked about Crazy Ralph's opening. Jason's look in this movie, once Tina brings him back, and we'll get into that in a little bit, Jason's look is outstanding in this movie. Maybe the best Jason has ever looked in the franchise to this point and going forward. When she uses her power to bring him out of the lake, you can see every bone in his back. He is truly zombie monster Jason, even more zombie Jason than he was in Part 6.
Let me put a stop to this narrative that you've created that this Part 7 Jason is the best looking Jason out of all the Jason. No, it's not. It doesn't look any better than Part 3, Richard Brooker. It doesn't look any better than Ted White. Those Jasons look much better than this Jason.
Okay, let's listen to this now. He's been underwater for 40 years.
I don't give a shit.
you can see the bones in his back. When they tear his mask off of him, you can see where the boat motor got him. You can see where Tommy Jarvis put the machete in the side of his head. He's got his grill. Somehow all his teeth haven't fell out. He's still got teeth. And his eyes are a little bit more centered than they have been in the past. I think, and this is my personal opinion, dickhead, that this is the best looking Jason up to this part. We talked about this in the last review, Friday 13th, part 6. We don't get to see what he looks like in part 6, or I'm going to say part 6 is the best one.
You're allowed to have that opinion.
Thank you.
And you're allowed to be wrong.
Is it not a really cool scene with him coming out of the lake and you get to see the bones in his back? That's just what I'm trying to get you to admit.
No, because he walks right by a passed out Tina and he doesn't grab a or anything.
No, he goes over. Tina falls out on the dock. He goes out the lake on the other side.
Why, though?
I don't know. I didn't ask.
I'm starting to think he's a
retarded. You said the R word.
He said the R word. Shout out to Jason John.
Dude's doing great work for us. I don't even know what we did to get him to make all these pictures for us, but that dude.
I'm sure you've put all his down there where you can follow him and get on his OnlyFans.
Okay, shit. Can we try this again?
Tina Shepard, who has telekinetic powers, kills her dad in front of the mom, and that puts her into this special hospital, probably Professor X's hospital, where they're studying her for her abilities. But in the 10 years since this has happened, they haven't shown on video or shown any signs. She hasn't shown any signs of having these powers. So Dr. Burney decides to take her out to Crystal Lake because he knows that's going to f her up, and she's going to be all mentally out there, and he'll be able to try to channel her powers and get some proof on it. He's out there basically as a lie to prove that she has, basically, because she has powers. He wants to prove it so he can keep her in the hospital forever. He's lied to her mother, saying that he's going to get her out of the clinic if they can go out there and prove that she's normal. And during a big fight, she runs out onto the dock, and she thinks she's bringing her father back, but what she's really doing is resuscitating and reviving Jason underwater. We get to see him hanging there or floating there in the chain that Tommy put him in. She breaks the chain. He wakes up. He floats to the top. And what I think is a cool scene, splashing around. She faints when she sees somebody come out of the water, thinking she brought her father back. And Jason exits Crystal Lake on the other side in the woods. And now it's go time because Jason's out and about. You really don't remember this movie, do you?
No, I just don't care about this movie. Tina is not a likable character. Her mom is not a likable character. Bernie's not a likable character. And once again, none of these teens that are screwing in the cabin are likable characters. So we've reached the point where I'm rooting for Jason, which
might be the point.
Generally not a good sign for a horror movie. So I'm not into this. Now, I do think it was cool that they let her use her powers against Jason at the end. I thought that was a really strong point, bringing the house down on him, busting a light bulb in his face. I mean, we've seen Jason get shot 100 times, but nobody's ever busted a light bulb in his face. I mean, that was good shit.
My favorite is when she breaks the stair. He falls through the stairs, and he immediately burst out the side of the stairs because he landed in the what we thought was the cellar, but he fell through the stairs into a closet. And then she strangles him using the light cord from the ceiling, and she's hanging by his throat. And even though he's been dead underwater for like 10 years, he's grabbing his throat like he can't breathe, like he's breathing in them. I thought it was brave of Kane Hodder in his first time as Jason to accentuate, what's the word I'm looking for? The shoulder work.
Excrement.
The shoulder work all throughout it, and to show that he's breathing, because nothing's more realistic than Jason Voorhees, who was dead for 10 years at one point to part 6 and dead for another 10 years between 6 and 7, breathing when he comes out of the water. Somebody should have pulled him to the side and said, idiot, just like they did in Best of the Best when Chris Penn whooped his ass in that movie. If I ever meet Kane Hodder at one of these conventions, first off, I'm not going to pay. I'm going to take a picture with me in front of him. I'm going to get you, Blake, to take a picture like I'm standing right beside him. We'll have to back you up a long ways.
I got you.
I'm going to point at him just like this right here, and I'm going to get a free picture with him. Then I'm going to say, why did you breathe so much? Is Jason. He's fucking dead, dummy, and see what happens.
Midget.
I got a couple of questions about Bernie. When they finally find Tina on the dock, she's telling them that some man come out of the lake, and Bernie's telling the mother, by the way, who I've got as the worst actress in the franchise so far. Tina's mom looks like she played in the LPGA or either a female arm wrestler in some kind of middleweight division, not even the lightweight division, middleweight division. She's got a BMW. That means body made wrong. She's ugly as She's got like Prince Valiant hair. She looks like idiots just running around right now. And her acting style is like my dad, screaming. So she's screaming throughout the whole movie. What do you mean, Dr. Cruz? I mean, and literally, I'm serious when I say the husband is now the face after watching this movie, because all he was trying to do was beat the out of her till she can't talk no more. And that's like the best thing you can do as a husband when you married something like this. Actually, what probably happened is he was probably at a frat party and she passed out up, and he just wandered up on it. And before you know it, he dumped a into this LPGA, and she got pregnant. So now he's stuck with her. Okay. And he's there for the kid because he knows, look, I'm having a baby with a okay, but I'm going to be the better person about this. She's going to have the baby, and then we'll just be husband and okay. So what happens is after they have the kid, and the kid's like 7 years old, she's trying to play him weak. Okay. She's probably got a bigger than him. She probably laid hands on him, and he did like Frank Dribbin and Naked Gun, Jane, you're hurting me. And then he punches her. Okay. That's what we hear in the cabin in the background. He punches her because she's trying to hurt him. And then that's what Tina saw. And then Tina thinks he's beating the mother, which anybody that saw that dad and sees this mom knows this dad couldn't beat this woman's ass. She's too manly. So he was really trying to defend himself. She might have been trying to I don't know.
Yeah, what started off as a gut buster resulted in him having to get married and have a family with this. And, he after years, 5-6 years, he realized, hey, I'm screwing somebody that we get our haircut at the same barbershop. I can't deal with this shit anymore. Beat her effing ass and put an end to it. I didn't know. I thought Tina was asleep. I was going to beat the out of her, beat the guts, and beat her ass. And then next thing I know, I'm in the bottom of a river.
And she's beating my guts, so I punch her in the face to get her out. And then that's when Tina saw me come up with a right cross on that that I got pregnant. And when she falls off the bed, that's when she screams. And then I slap her to get her away from me because she's back on me. And then Tina sees it. And then now Tina's on a boat, and I'm on a dock trying to get my kid because I want to take the kid and I want to escape with her because we got to try to get away from this idiot that I got pregnant. And then Tina kills me. And now I'm dead. Okay. That's the story the father had right there. And that's a better backstory of anybody in the movie. This has the worst acting, Blake, of the entire franchise. This has characters that we do not care about all throughout this movie. That guy, Eddie, is the biggest loser in the franchise to date. Star Mummy. He's laying in bed with that other chick that's the heel in this movie, and she's got the same haircut as Tina's mom. He's got his shorts on him. He's sitting there in his whitey tighties. She don't have any pants on. He didn't try to he didn't try to I mean, at that point, if he's in bed with her, I mean, he's like biting her neck or something. You just got to I mean, that's what Dad said.
Pound him.
Guts. But no, Eddie is like the biggest loser in this movie if it wasn't for that idiot that was drinking the beer and spitting it everywhere. But at least he got then there's some ugly idiot that gets dressed at the end of the movie and goes looking for the beer idiot, and she gets killed. I mean, she gets all dressed up and loses her earring in the woods. Here's the deal, Blake. This is the worst Friday the 13th movie that we've watched so far. Jason's around in the wood. Jason kills everybody in the house where the teens are. And then Jason is back in the woods for some reason. Why didn't he just walk across the road and kill Bernie, the mom, and Tina at the same time? Dr. Cruz finds a metal, I don't know what it is. It's like a spike that they use to put tents in the ground, buried in the side of the house. And Tina has just told him she saw a scary man from the lake. Why didn't he say, okay, I found something outside. Let's get the hell out of here. Instead, he just goes along with his plan to try to reveal Tina as some kind of super X-Man so he can do experiments on her for the rest of his life. So there's a lot of things in this movie don't make sense. First off, how does Jason know how to crank that weed eater when he kills Bernie? Because just like I know, Blake, anything that takes gas and oil that you got to mix up, it don't crank up right off the bat. That son of a bitch would have went dead. That's the biggest problem I got with Leatherface. He's running around there with a chainsaw, and everybody knows that thing gunks up. Half the time people would be getting away in Texas Chainsaw Massacre because some bitch wouldn't crank.
I mean, shit. Can I get a scene where they're having to rebuild a carburetor or something, Ronnie? I mean, they got to hit that damn primer bulb 10 times before that thing's going to fire up, especially in cold weather season. I mean, you ain't firing that thing up right away. You got to hit that damn primer bulb 10 times, and chances are you got to take it to a little parts store and have them rebuild the carburetor for you. I mean, can we not fish Tina's dad's body out of this lake that's 6 foot deep? I mean,
yeah, that's another thing. They don't find Tina's dad's body. We see it on film. I mean, the dock falls on him. They couldn't dig him out. Who's working the police and search and recovery? Me and you. At least we'd have found him. We'd have dove down in there and got him. I mean, it's 4 feet of water.
Got him. He's right here when you first walk in. I found the ass in.
The coolest kill in this movie is the blonde-headed heel shows back up at the end for Nick or whatever his name is, and Jason buries an axe right in between her eyes, grabs her by the back of the head, and throws her behind one of these old console TVs. And one of the greatest scenes ever. Also, Jason with the axe pulled back is the Jason that we got for the Friday the 13th NES video game still. So that was pretty cool too.
Yeah, that is nice.
But you hit it on the head, Blake. The best parts of this movie are the fights at the very end where Jason doesn't know what the hell is going on. Tina's using her powers. She electrocutes him. She drops the porch on him. She hangs him. She swings a glass light in his face, and he falls back like Ric Flair. She tears the boards from the floor up and hangs him and drops him down into the cellar, and he lands like Lloyd Christmas from Dumb and Dumber with his leg out to the side.
I mean, I know it's too easy. I know it's simple writing, but why not pick Jason up and just quarter his ass, arms and legs gone? If
she's got the ability to do all that, she's got the ability to tear his head off his shoulders.
Yeah.
I mean, why not do that? That's the perfect way to end
twist his the old twist.
I remember one time Dad was beating up my ass in the hallway, and
I remember that.
I reached up and I grabbed his I twisted it till he started beating me some more, and I passed out. So they get down in the cellar, and we get a cool scene where they set Jason on fire, and then they get the hell out of there, and it's like somebody coated the house down with C4. The whole house explodes, leaving a crater in the earth, Blake. Now they're back on the dock. Stay with me, Blake. Don't go to sleep. Now they're back on the dock, and Jason shows back up to punch Nick in the face, and he's not blown apart like you're supposed to be when the house blows up. He's not on fire. He's just smoking like a cartoon character. I mean, he at least should have had the clothes burn off of him. At this point, we should be looking at a naked Jason because he was on fire. It should have burnt them damn clothes right off of him. I should have seen Jason ass, little nubbin there like Angela from Sleepaway Camp. It should have happened.
Yeah, I mean, even Ernest P. Worrell was, covered in black at the end of Ernest Goes to Jail when he got blowed up. Jason should have been something similar.
How did they get this lost in the woods? The majority of this movie are people getting lost in the woods. I brought it up earlier. Tina has a couple of scenes, Blake, where she sees Nick's brother getting killed in the woods, which means she can see the past. And she finds out that Bad News Cruz is actually there to Bad News Cruz is looking to keep her in the hospital forever. So she jumps in the Cutlass and she's flying down the road, and the image she sees in the road is Jason killing her mother. So she swerves over into the ditch, but instead of following the dirt road back to the cabin that she just left to warn her mother, hey, you're going to get killed, I'm going to be here to protect you, she runs off in the woods where she stays the rest of the time. And then Bad News Cruz and the mom comes up. They find the car, and they go off into the woods, and Bernie knows something's in these woods. He's like really nervous about it because he's already found one dead body out there, and the mother's constantly screaming. He's like, okay, you can just stay here. I'm getting the hell out of here. So get back here, you coward. And that's when you get to see the part of the mother that the dad hated, and that's the reason he beat her.
Yeah. I'm usually against domestic violence, but in this movie, it was needed, and it really makes Tina's dad the baby face, like you said earlier.
I mean, he's a baby face, and Jason's a baby face for killing her. Jason's a baby face for wiping out all these losers.
Yeah.
You got the stereotypical screwing in a van. It looks like Elvin from Cosby Show. I don't know what his name is in the movie. Some bitch is working at the Circle K.
He works at Trader Joe's now. Yep.
So why didn't she go back to save her mom? Maybe she didn't want to save her mom. Maybe this movie's deeper than we thought it was, Blake. I don't know. All I know is I couldn't have started that weed eater with the saw blade on it. How does Jason even know how to start? Jason was when he drowned. He was when he was out in the woods. He can barely work that machete. So how's Jason, freaky Jason?
Hey, please don't kill me, freaky Jason.
Going to work? Even know how to attempt to crank that weed eater.
Another Friday the 13th, Ronnie, that opens up with someone waking up in a vehicle. Why does Jason need a machete if he's punching through people?
Yes.
All kind of questions I got. I don't understand. Nick looks like Jimmy G for the Oakland Raiders.
Okay, can we talk about the dad before we wrap this up? The dad is.
I don't think we've talked about him enough. Go ahead.
The dad is.
I'm sorry, honey.
I went to dad. She looks like the poltergeist girl in the thing, but she was dead by this point. Jason's beating the out of Nick at it, and Tina starts making the water bubble, and all of a sudden, Tina's dad comes out of the dock, exploding up. He does the Hulk Hogan, this right here. Like, I don't think the camera's on me good enough. Let me do it again. Hulk Hogan, this right here. He wraps the chains around Jason. He wraps the chains around Jason's throat, and he pulls him down into the water. Now, we're talking about 2 minutes earlier, Jason got blew up and set on fire. He got blowed up like Ernest.
I got blowed up.
So now it's all she wrote. And when they wake up the next morning, she gets put into the ambulance, and Nick is right there beside her, and they drive off. And we also get to see where she split the mask off of Jason. Like, two guys are holding the mask and piecing it together. So they're probably and there was like local firemen putting out the fire that was still burning. That would have spread all throughout the woods by this point. I mean, we've seen how it works in areas like that. It'd be over with. So I said all that, Blake, to get to this point. She brought Jason back from the dead. She just brought her dad back from the dead. Shouldn't her dad be back?
You would think so. And if she has that ability, why not bring her mom back? Why not bring all Nick's friends and Nick's brother back? I mean, what stops her from doing all this? I don't understand.
At this point, in this universe, the Friday 13th universe, Tina has to go on to be like that in the Matrix, right? Where everybody goes to visit her and she like heals them and tells them all about them. So like she's got to be sitting there in an apartment. And somebody comes in with a case of hemorrhoids, and Tina just cures those hemorrhoids for them, or a headache or diarrhea. So she's got I don't even think we've hit the surface of the abilities that she has. She brings people back from the dead. Nobody should have died in this movie. It should have been one of those movies where everybody's still alive at the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, everybody should be hugging and singing like at the end of Saturday Night Live or some shit. Yeah, I mean, and is it zombie dad, or is he normal? Does he have the memory of does he know what's happened the last 10 years? Or, I mean, is he in the mindset of that night of him falling in the water? I mean, I got a lot of questions about zombie dad.
Yeah, does he get out of the lake and go immediately try to find the mom to finish the job? I don't know. That's Friday 13th Part 7, Blake. Let's go ahead and we'll get a rating from you.
Yeah, this movie's a sandwich. I'm going to give it a 4.4 out of 10.
I think we haven't rated any of these movies, and all of a sudden we start rating it halfway in. I'm not going to rate it, but this is the worst movie of the franchise so far. You've sold me on it, Blake. Jason sucks. The way he looks. Kane Hodder sucks. The acting, everybody in this movie, nobody can act except for Bernie, and they brought Bernie down. The mother is the ugliest person in this movie, Blake. If you got another ugly one, what's going on in the background?
It's a screw session.
What's going on back there? Can we cut that off?
That's what I think about this effing episode. I just farted in the microphone.
This has been
I'm 40.
the best review you'll ever see of Friday the 13th Part 7. Watch it. It's a great movie. I mean, I watch it 2 or 3 times a day if I got a chance to. Oh, my goodness. Hit us in the comments. What's your favorite part of Friday the 13th Part 7? Do you agree with us that this is the best and the worst Jason ever looked? Are you a Kane Hodder fan? Tell us your rating for Friday the 13th Part 7. It's the worst. And it only gets worse from here, Blake. Worser. Anything before we go, Blake?
Nah, man. I can't wait to do Friday 13th Part 8.
All right. We'll see you guys next time.